this is my review of that time I got reincarnated as a slime. Okay, so this episode starts off with Rimuru meeting with Gazel Dwargo behind closed doors. And basically the first couple of minutes of this episode is of them catching up. Mainly just it explains that Gazel kind of lifted the whole ban on all of the dwarves and all that he exiled because as it turns out, it was his delegates it was the idea of some of his delegates, and he kind of didn't agree with the situation, but he figured it was the best way to appease them, so he banned them from the city temporarily. But I guess after a while of that, Gazel finally drops the shoe, and he asks Rimuru about the incident with Charbis, and as it turns out, he believes that Rimuru possessed a magical weapon that enabled him to destroy Charbis. But Rimuru merely explains that he had made an alliance with Milanava, and she was able to destroy it for him. So, and Gazel and his subordinate, they're a little surprised by the whole situation, mainly because it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But Gazel immediately responds that he realizes it's too preposterous for it not to be true, so he believes Rimuru. At which point Rimuru has Shuna bring out a bunch of alcohol for the three of them to drink out while they prepare for delegations to. Basically, what they're preparing is that they're going to make a formal announcement of their friendship in front of the entire nation. So basically Rimuru is going to be. So basically, Rimuru is there to get some advice from Gazel Dwargo on how to make a proper speech. And as they're drinking, Dwargo can't help but be impressed by the quality of the alcohol, and Rimuru merely responds that he's happy that he likes it, and then tells him that he's entered an arrangement with Urania, and immediately Gazel Dwargo and his subordinate are on their feet, and they immediately sit up and take notice, pointing out that the Armed Nation, that the Beast Kingdom apparently doesn't enter contracts with other nations very easily. They're very reclusive in that regard, and sure enough, the Demon Lord Carrion is kind of doesn't like forming alliances with other nations all that much. So Gazel Dwargo can't help but be impressed, and points out that if Rimuru continues at the pace he's going, his city will eventually become the new trade hub of the world. And points out that the current kingdom is one of the ones that are it's pretty impressive, but as Gazel Dwargo openly admits, he's not a big fan of their king. As it turns out, their king is apparently an asshole. So apparently he's not a very nice, pleasant guy to work with, and Gazel Dwargo openly admits that to Rimuru's face, pointing out that in very much hushed whispers so that it doesn't leave the room. But his point is that he's very arrogant, very greedy. He kind of uses the fact that his kingdom is the trading hub of the entire world to just kind of hoard resources, as it were. And he doesn't like sharing. So he hopes that one day that Rimuru does succeed in actually taking over as the new center of trading for the entire world. Although he does openly admit that there is a bit of an ulterior motive with that motivation, and that if Rimuru does succeed in becoming the new trading center of the world, he has to basically share anything he has with Gazel Dwargo, which Rimuru happily accepts. But as it turns out, in between when the time that Shuna brought the drinks and now, as it turns out, Shiona has gotten a little bit tipsy. She kind of drank the whole bottle by herself, and in a drunken rant professes her admiration of Rimuru and points out that he's more than capable of the task before passing out. And Rimuru turns back into a slime form so that she can use him as a pillow. And and both Rimuru and Shuna are just kind of they're kind of just shocked about how bad a drunk Shion is. And Shuna apologizes on Rimuru's behalf about the drunken display that just befell them. And Gazel Dwargo merely laughs it off, saying that it's fine. At which point the two leave with Shion in tow and escort her back to her room so that she can sleep off her drunken stupor. At which point the next morning they proceed to go with the whole meeting. They gather the entire kingdom in front of Giant Stage. Rimuru is in a slime form and he's dressed in a little crown and cape. And also Shion, who has recovered from her drunken outburst, picks him up so that the nation can see him better. And basically his speech is along the lines of that though they're a nation of monsters, he hope he can one day make a nation where humans and monsters can all interact with one another and everybody can live in peace. And he hopes everybody will be able to support him in that dream, as Gazel Dwargo has him. But then immediately after the speech, Gazel Dwargo just points out everything that's wrong with the speech, namely that he plays too much on sympathies, and that he needs to take more concrete ruling when he goes to actually try and become a much better leader and try to take things in stride. And Rimuru openly agrees and admits to himself that according to himself in his past life, he wasn't very good at giving speeches at his day job either. So speeches are something he's always struggled with, according to himself. So he's very aware that he needs help. But he's proud that Gazel Dwargo was able to give him advice on how to improve his speech styling. So he takes that lesson to heart. And then this episode gets a little bit interesting from here. Following that, Rimuru actually decides to celebrate their newfound alliance by taking the Goblin Riders and the dwarves to the bar from one of the early episodes in season 1 with the one with the elves. You know that one. He takes them to that bar to basically, well, for two reasons. First and foremost, to show all of his guys friends a good time, and also he makes sure that nobody knows that Shion and Shuna don't know where he is, or where anybody else is for that matter. He makes doubly sure that to make sure they weren't followed. And also Gobsa is kind of the life of the party here. He's very popular with the elf girls, and it eventually escalates to the point where he has a major where they start flirting with him a little bit too hardcore, and he bleeds out of every single one of his openings and goes anemic. I am not kidding. That is a thing that happens in this episode. But and the second and arguably the more plot important part of this is that Rimuru has brought some of what is left of his alcohol that he made to give to the bartender, and tells her to start selling it to her regular customers, and basically give him feedback on what they think, so that he knows what to improve on and what they like. And she's more than happy to, and even remarks that she saw Rimuru's speech, and while he's initially embarrassed by it, she does point out that while it was a little sappy, she does feel like he was sincere and genuine, and would give it full marks for that alone, and points out that one day she would like to see a nation where everybody, human and monster alike, is able to coexist. And he's proud of him, and Rimuru is proud that she's willing to support him, and decides to toast her on that. At which point Rimuru proceeds to try and get everybody back to their rooms, but that's not how it plays out. As it turns out, one of the Goblin Riders actually slipped to Shuna because she asked him nicely where Rimuru was and his party were going, and she told Shion, and they're both livid. That basically they're upset that Rimuru not only left without them, but that they did something debaucherous with that time. So, and Rimuru tries to appeal to their good nature by basically saying that he had no excuse, and bowing as lowly as he can before using his slime charms to try and cute them to death, as it were. But it doesn't work, and Shuna just punishes Rimuru anyway by making him eat Shion's food for a week. which she knows he hates, so that's a fitting punishment. But in any case, he realizes. But in any case, with that, they finish everything they were supposed to button up in this Kingdom of Dwargon and proceed to go back the next day. And also, but there is one little thing behind this, which is that Mulum, the woman we kind of saw, but not really in the last episode. She meets up with Yom's party, and after finding out that he doesn't have a dedicated magic user, decides to challenge him to a fight to show him what he's got, to show her what she's got, and basically she completely overwhelms him with magical abilities, even though they're very basic as abilities according to herself and Yom, and after realizing that she is pretty impressive as a magic user, welcomes him into his little adventuring guild, as it were. She welcomes that invitation with open arms. So yeah, if you don't know, Mulum is the one who's been working with Clayman, and be it against her will. We know that, but this is the first time we've seen her. This is the first time we've seen her in an episode. So so I'm assuming that she's gonna be important going forward. So, and because she is associated with the main antagonist of the series, so I would assume that, that's going to be interested. That she's going to have some interesting interactions, and she's going to use this arrangement to get closer to Rimuru, so she can figure out what he's up to. And to be fair, that is most likely exactly what she's going to do, because Yom is closely associated with Rimuru. Rimuru made him into a champion so that he could basically take credit for the whole Sharpness incident and a whole bunch of other things that Rimuru has done, to basically spread good news about the Monster Nation. So yeah, she's definitely going to use this connection to her advantage going forward, and I can feel it. But in any case, that's going to be my review of that time I got reincarnated as a slime. What did you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter in the description below. And also, be sure to check out my Patreon in the description below as well. It's only a couple bucks a month. It really helps me out, and you guys get access to a bunch of cool perks, and I was saying thanks. So be sure to check those out in the description below as well. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace!